everybody, this is Rigord from Team Truffle. I'm going to go through a couple of roguelikes. They're a type of game that I really like, and I'm not particularly good at them. You'll never see me speedrunning NetHack or anything, but I find they're very interesting. The idea of everything being sort of random and being fairly short game sessions that are very different each time, it gives a sense of excitement and it keeps things on your toes, and even if you know exactly what kind of to do, you still won't know what will actually show up. And so there's never really that guarantee, unless you get something particularly powerful later. But when you start, it's not the case. So this is a spaceship simulator roguelike is usually what I've heard it called. I think it's what it's even called on the Steam store page. You sort of man a crew of a spaceship, and you have different systems in your spaceship, like weapons, engines, shields, and they mostly work on their own, although you do need someone to pilot it, and so the piloting's a little different. But if you have people in the individual areas, they'll do slightly better. Your shield will recharge a little faster if someone's in your shields, your weapons will charge a little faster in the weapons, you'll dodge a little better if you're in your engines. And as they man that position, they sort of gain experience in the sense that they will gain skill, like levels. I guess is the best way to call it. And the idea is when they become more proficient in that skill for that area, they do it a little better. So that's part of where the roguelike element comes in. There's a degree of experience in that. There's also a lot of random events and random drops. If you ever played The Binding of Isaac, the same sort of structure goes through that in the sense that there's the same number of floors, so to speak. They're sectors, galaxies, and you have to get to the final boss basically and try to defeat it. So it's that same sort of gimmick. A lot of the roguelikes have it, but not all that way. But each of the individual sectors is different. It's sort of randomly generated. The individual planets you're jumping to will be in different positions and have different events in them. You'll be fighting different people. So that sort of randomness. Unlike a lot of roguelikes, you do get to basically... There's a lot of decision in what you get, because there's a lot of shops that show up, and there's individual choices, and so you can sort of buy the kinds of weapons you want. You won't always find the exact weapon you want, and you definitely won't find them quickly necessarily, but if you want to run a certain way, you can usually tailor it sort of that way. So it's not super random, but you can get really... You still have that element in the roguelikes where, you can get completely messed up because something really bad happens, or you can find something immensely good, and you change the way you want to build your character, or is this a ship? So there are many different ships to choose from in this. There's 8? 8 sort of regular ones, and these 2 bonus ones. I'm not particularly good at this game, so I haven't unlocked everything, and I've been playing for several dozen hours. But, it's fun. Lots of people really would recommend this game. It's just a great example of sort of a casual roguelike in the sense that you don't have to know absolutely everything and devote millions of hours to have fun with it. I usually play on easy, just because it's the way I can consistently get later. Anyway, so I'm just going to start with the Kestrel. It's a very basic ship. It's got a missile and a laser. The laser is sort of this burst laser will shoot 3 lasers, so it'll do up to 3 damage, but lasers are blocked by shields. These missiles will punch straight through shields, though, and so it's useful to have that, so anyone who has huge shields aren't going to be a huge trouble. I can take down systems early if they have those kind of sorts of issues. The weapons are fairly good. Humans learn skills faster than some of the other races in the game, and so we can pick up some of the earlier the benefits of faster weapon charging and faster dodging than some of these other ones, which play very differently. They work fairly well. It depends on your play style, and it's always fun to change it up. But this is a very basic one where I can fairly consistently get decently far. So, the idea behind this game is you're part of the Federation. you have basically discovered that the plans of the rebels that are coming to basically kill the Federation. And so what you need to do is you need to avoid getting caught by the rebels as you're trying to catch back up to the Federation fleet and give them the information that they need to fight correctly. And then you will turn around with some supplies and assistance and try to defeat the flagship of the rebel fleet so they don't sort of punch through your fleet and win as rebels, as they do. So the idea basically behind the game, which we'll see in a minute, there's two basic elements to the game. It's real time, but you can pause at literally any moment. So if you want to think about it, you can. There's no huge need for this urgency if you want to play slowly. I usually prefer to. So the one element of the game is you have to sort of manage your ship while you're fighting other ships. We'll get into that when we find one. For now, there isn't anything much with that. The other section of the game is sort of the overworld map sort of section, where each of these individual areas is an undiscovered star. We do not know what will be at this star. There may be people coming, waiting for us. There may be a distress signal from some civilians that need our help, or a base station that's sort of having their defense systems go haywire, or a whole bunch of other stuff. We know very little information before we get there. Basically, all we really know here is sort of, we can have a general idea of which ones are close to one another to jump to. So we'll know whether, if we go down this way, we'll sort of be trapped and have to go back instead of being able to go back up here or something. And this is a nebula. Nebulas, as sort of they say here, the fleet that's pursuing us will pursue us slower because they can't really track us very well. But it will mess with our sensors, and there may be storms that'll mess with our engines and power. And so it's not necessarily great if you're not in a good position, but it is a nice way to gain a little time if you're in a good position. When you're next to a sector, you'll get a little bit of information. If it's a shop where you can buy things, it'll say it's a shop. If there's a distress beacon, a civilian ship that needs your help or something along those lines, it'll tell you distress. You usually want to go to distress beacons if you're in a good position, because they'll pay out with better rewards. They're a little more risky, though. There's usually harder combat, more likely to have combat, or sometimes just a choice that may just damage you. There's not a whole lot. It's sort of a random element where you get to choose to do one thing or another, usually the safe option or the risky option. So anyway, there's nothing here right now, so we just need to explore. What I usually prefer to do is I usually like to go to the different locations that have the most connections. That way I can see the most number of things next to me that might be a shop or a distress signal, something useful, because I prefer to go to the interesting areas and get the better benefit, because I'm good enough at the game that I usually only get worn down by really difficult things, not just worn away by one thing after another. So we're going to go to our location. You just sort of click on it. Aha, see, we didn't know this at first. This is an asteroid field. The problem with asteroid, there's a little symbol here if for some reason you can't tell from the background. What this means is both of our ships are going to be pelted by asteroids every now and then. If our shields are up, it's not going to be a big deal. It's just going to hit our shield and sort of take it down a level, just like any other shot will. It will make us harder to get hurt, though. It's a good and it's bad, because it affects both of us. In the end, it's more detrimental than beneficial if you're not defensive, because you'll get worn down. The enemies, they're going to come, you're going to fight 100 enemies in the entire game. You taking another 2 points of damage is going to make more than them taking 2 more points of damage. So, you can see up here, this is our health. It's our hull integrity. When something hits us, we'll get hurt. Many things in the game do more than 1 point of damage, very large missiles, beam weapons, but in general, you just sort of take a point when something hits you. Right here in the middle we have our FTL drive. Basically, as long as someone's piloting and our engines are on, we're going to charge up our drive. If things are going poorly for us, when our drive is charged, we can run away. This is the enemy ship. You can see they have systems just like us, so they have their piloting system, weapon system, oxygen system. We can target the individual systems. So the strategy in this game comes from you want to target the systems that you don't want them to be able to use. When a system gets damaged, it... actually, I'll show you right here. As you can see here, there are levels in each of these systems. So these correspond to the systems in our ship. So our weapons, they have 3 levels, which just means we can put 3 energy into the weapons. One of our weapons takes 2 energy, one takes 1. If we take damage, we'll be unable to fuel as much energy into it, depending on the amount of damage you took. Every point of damage means you can take 1 less in. And then you can't power as many weapons, or your shields can't power up as much, or your dodge chance is reduced. Whatever that system or subsystem does. So what we're going to want to do is, they have 2 lasers. They're different kinds of lasers. This is a short video. I don't want to go into the specifics of everything, but the idea is they're going to be able to hit us twice fairly regularly, and the asteroids are going to come in. So we're going to be taking a lot of damage if we don't do something. So my first idea is, since they have their shields up, I want to puncture through their shield with the missile to hit their shields, so they'll be unable to keep their shields up. Then burst laser their weapons so they cannot fire at us. This will leave them basically defenseless. The people on their ship will be able to repair it, well, not like incredibly slowly, not like several minutes, but it'll take several seconds, and we'll be able to charge up again to fire at them again. And as long as we can keep them from firing at us, the asteroids are very unlikely to punch through our shields, and so we'll just be able to slowly wear away at them. So the best thing to do is take out their weaponry. That is, in general, the best tactic. It's sort of the default tactic, but depending on whether the enemy ships have drones, whether they have immensely powerful shields that you need to sort of wear down with everything you have first before you can get through with anything, or if you're running a different kind of ship that has, say, beam weapons that you just want to rake through as much damage as possible, it depends. So we're going to start this. Spacebar is the normal pause button, so you can just pause, unpause, whatever. So we're going to want to aim our missile here. And as soon as this hits, we're going to want to aim this to their weaponry. So we're just going to wait for time to tick down. So you see the asteroid hit our shield. It knocks it down for a second while it recharges. They're going to hit us. Yep, and now an asteroid will probably hit us. Nope. Alright. So I've hit their shield. They took 2 points of damage, so their shields are now in red. Red is critical, which means they have no power left. So if you've taken as much as in there, so if my medbay took 1 point, if my shields took 2 points, if my weapons took 3 points, that means there's nothing. So we don't get to know the specifics of the health of theirs unless we upgraded our sensors. But I know I've taken down their shields critically, which means they are not going to be able to bring it up without repairing it at least twice, because each level of shield takes 2 power. That's just a thing that you know. And so this is basic information as we know. So now the shields aren't going to be coming up for a while. So I'm going to fire at the weaponry, and they've now taken 3... They're going to take 2 points to the weaponry, which will take down both of their weapons. So they're going to be unable to fire at us. The problem, though, is they've become cowardly. Now that they know that we're in an awesome position against them, there's a chance, depending on the ship that you're fighting, these are pirates. Pirates tend to be kind of more cowardly because they're not trying to fight a war against you, they're just trying to get money. They're going to try to run away. It's not worth it to them anymore, because I'm just going to keep pummeling them. Their shields aren't up, so the asteroids are going to pummel them. So they're charging their FTL. Unlike us, that when we're always charging, enemies only charge their FTL when they're trying to run away. Usually when they're in a bad position. So what we need to do is take down their piloting or engines, so that they can't do that. You know what I mean? Oh, they've surrendered. So if you scare them enough, if you deal enough damage, they don't want to die, and they don't think they can get away, because I'll be able to fire at them before they get FTL probably. So they're going to say, hey, we'll give you these missiles, drone parts, and scrap if you just let us go. We have a decent amount of missiles, and a lot of times we don't have to do it. What I really worry about more is fuel and scrap. Which we're getting no fuel and not great scrap. We'll get better scrap for killing them, and I'm not worried about them getting away, because their engines are damaged. That's what the yellow means, or yellow-orange. So even though they're charging, they're not going to get away. So the asteroids are going to hit me, they're not going to fire at me, I'm in no danger. I think I can get a better payout without letting them surrender. So we're going to show them no mercy, and I'm just going to fire at their piloting, which will stop them completely. They'll probably be killed by asteroids. No, I took the final form. So they blow up, the encounter is over. See, I got a little less missiles because they sort of floated off into space or something, but I got more than twice as much scrap, which is basically experience in this game as a general idea. And I got an anti-combat drone. I have no drone systems yet, but if I pick up a drone system, I can use this, or I can simply sell it at a shop. So this is basically bonus scrap for me. So I got out with a lot more, and there was no real danger to myself. So since we're still in a danger zone, because we're getting pummeled by asteroids, even though I don't really have a risk of getting hit, the game's not going to allow me to go into my hangar, and it's still going to make me wait for my jump, just in case the enemies had damaged my shield or something, and they're going to make me take the extra damage. So I'm going to go now. There are no special areas around here, no shops, no distress signals, so I'm not hugely interested in any of these specific areas. I'd like to go to the nebula, I guess, because I'll show you what a little difference in the nebula is. So the nebula has this, I don't know, cloud danger. Basically what this means is our sensors are down. This is what the little blue square means as opposed to a green square or a grayed out square. This means it's disabled, but it's still taking power if it was in this area. These don't take power. The difference between a system and a subsystem. But this means we can't see sensors. The problem is when you have no sensors, we can't see anywhere in the ship that we don't have a person in, and we can't see anything in the opponent's ship other than their locations. I mean, it's the difference between 0 and 1 is not that much, but it does suck for us, especially because apparently we've been boarded. That's what Intruder, this is all fluff. It's sort of story, not really story, it's just telling you what happened. It can be interesting, especially the first couple times you play through, there's different things, it's kind of interesting, but once you play a lot of times, they're kind of the same. And it takes a lot of time, so I'm not going to read through all these every time, because I don't want to get through different elements and not make this an hour-long video. But this will tell you right here, we have intruders on board. What this means is there's going to, you know how I have people on my ship. Now, enemy people are going to be on my ship, and we're going to have to engage in fisticuffs, basically, but with guns. There are different ways to handle this, depending on how you set up your ship. The simplest way to do it is just to shoot them. Another thing you do is try to close them in an area and cut off all of their oxygen, which is usually my preferred method because it puts my guys in no danger. So what I'm going to do, this is an interesting technique I learned from watching some people play this game on YouTube. Basically, right here I can open all of the doors on the ship. If I click it a second time, I actually will open out the oxygen, basically jettisoning all oxygen on my ship. So now what I'm doing is I'm highlighting everyone, right-clicking to send them all to the med bay, and enabling the med bay. What this will do is send my guys to the med bay, and every other area on the ship is not going to have any oxygen. So what this will mean is these guys aren't going to want to keep fighting in where they're going, because they're going to start suffocating, see? So now they're going to come into the med bay, but since I'm healing, I'm not taking damage and they are. You know what I mean? Like, I'm healing more than they are because the med bay will only heal me and not them. And so I'm at a better advantage than they are at. This is how I would usually want to handle it. I usually prefer not to have something get damaged because I took a point of damage and now I have to sit and repair this. But I don't have the second level doors which will lock the doors, so I couldn't sort of keep them in a room out of the areas I didn't want them to be in. So this is sort of how I had to handle it right here. So now I'll close everything on the ship, and then oxygen's up. So then I just unpause it, wait for the oxygen to fill up. The percentages are very low. You don't need much to actually keep them from taking damage. It's like 5% or something like that. This will take a while to get up to full, but it doesn't really matter. I need to repair this anyway. So repairing is another thing that your guys can do. As you can see here, there's these little skills that they gain experience, and when they gain sort of a little bit of experience in it, you see this little green thing that pops up. It doesn't say for how long, I can't show you anymore, but So this will show you all the different skills that there are. So there's like piloting, engine, so there's all the different systems that you can do. And then the last two are repairing and fighting. And so my guys have gotten a little experience in fighting because they just had a little melee here, and a little bit of repairing because they just fixed this room up. And so now I want to send them back to the normal areas. And then borders are annoying. I really don't like borders, so I'm going to go to my hangar. So this is where your ship's experience basically comes up. So that scrap I picked up is basically ship experience. The idea is now I can purchase upgrades to my ship. So I can give it more power so that I could... So, like, right now I have to reduce power from, say, like the medbay or something to power up. So I don't have quite enough power to power everything. It's not usually a huge deal because during most combat I don't need the medbay, so I don't really need more power. But if I wanted to power everything at the same time, I could add more power bars, which will do my max capacity. Alternatively, I can add points to any of the individual systems here, which will allow me to put more power into that system. If I put more power into these systems, I would then, since if I don't add more powers to my total reactor power, I would have to start taking more out of other things, which would actually be kind of a detriment, because I need to be able to block things with shield, I need to be able to dodge missiles, I really don't want to have to cut oxygen too much. If you're not jettisoning oxygen, it does reduce fairly slowly, but you don't necessarily want to leave it off for an entire combat, and so you start having to juggle things. That's usually how I prefer to play, but right now I don't really need more weapon power because I don't have more weapons. It would take a lot of power out for the shields, that's not usually the best. The first thing I usually like to do is put in one into doors. What this does is it makes your doors gray, and the idea behind this is intruders now can't get through these doors without literally blasting them open. That's not as bad as it sounds, really, because they'll repair, so to speak, in like a minute or something like that. Like, it's not a huge deal. Between combats, you'll get them back. But what it means is it slows them down, so if the intruders sort of appear here, they'll get shut out, and they won't be able to immediately start attacking my weapons or my shields. This will allow me to sort of jettison the oxygen that they're in, and start hurting them before they get into the next room, and then all the oxygen will leave that room, and so they don't want to leave that room before actually damaging it. And it's a much better tactic for borders, which is good for now because I don't have excess crew members to do fighting. You get borders coming in these random events, but when you have borders coming in when you're fighting, you really don't want to take your guys away from your weapons or your piloting to be able to take them down. I only have 19 left. That's not a lot. I can upgrade my... I could upgrade my engines for a slightly larger dodge chance, but I would rather save this in case we come to a shop and get an extra crew member or something. So there's other things I would prefer to do with this scrap than just give it away right now. So what I'm going to do is go here. So the point of every one of these sectors, sort of like a normal roguelike, these are the individual rooms, and then there's the exit stairway. This happens to be a portal beacon, so that we can go to the next sector. So all we really need to do is go here, and then whatever encounters there, do it. There's always an encounter, and then just leave, go to the next sector. It's actually fairly easy if that's all you want to do. The problem is if you don't pick up scrap and weapons and fuel and stuff from these earlier sectors, you'll start getting outscaled by the enemies, and you'll have to start running away, and you won't get as much scrap in the later sectors, and then when you start to want to fight the boss, you'll just be woefully underprepared. So what you really want to do is, as long as you're in a good position, like me, I'm not getting particularly hurt, I'm not wasting a whole bunch of missiles, just go to every place you can, really. So I'm going to go to the nebula again. I'm going to stay in the nebula for now, because I'll be able to see these areas in case something interesting happens there. The only ones I'll really miss out on are here, but I can't go literally everywhere. So I'm going to go here. Alright, so I jump into a plasma storm. So this is the other hazard inside nebula. So it's not in every area. This is sort of like the asteroid field of a nebula. The idea is our power is halved. It's always halved. It's not just like a certain number. So if I had 20, it would be reduced by 10 as opposed to by this 4. It's still much, 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 much better to have more, but you don't just sort of take a negligible risk when you do. Anyway, so the idea is, so now I can't fuel everything that I want to. So I have to deal with that constraint. It's actually a really big deal early on, because it'll be difficult for you to power weapons and shields at the same time, and definitely nothing else, so that's not so good. But, I mean, it happens. But your enemies have the same problem, usually. Occasionally you'll find people that have less of a problem, but that's sort of those are individuals. In general, these people will have the same problem you do, so that's fine. They'll be able to hit you less. You can adapt to it. So anyway, there's a ship in the shadows, so I can either search for survivors and equipment, which is the risky idea, or I could avoid the risk and just jump away. If I go in here, I might get ambushed, because it could be another trap, or there could be like a psycho inside that wants to kill me, or it could blow up and kill one of my crew members. I don't know if that's actually an option, but the idea is this a risk. It's, I'm not going to say 50-50 chance, but the idea is it's basically a random chance. I don't know how it's weighted on each of the individual ones, but basically either it can be nothing will happen sometimes. Sometimes something bad will happen. You'll take some damage. One of your crew members will die. You'll lose some weaponry, ammo, depending on what the encounter is. Or you'll get a benefit. Considering this specifically says survivors and equipment, there's probably a good chance I'll get scrap, maybe ammo, and then probably a rare chance I could actually get an actual crew member or a weapon. So I'm going to try it because I'm in a great position. A little damage isn't going to kill me. If I lose a crew member, that'll suck, but I don't know if that's an option here. So this was sort of a mixed. So despite my caution, the detection equipment, they basically debris crashed into the ship, damaging my hull. I salvage what I can from the area and then leave before I get hit by more debris. So I picked up a good amount of fuel, a lot of scrap, and another drone. I took 4 damage though if something hit me. Not a whole lot in the whole scheme of things, as long as I can get to a shop to repair it at some point. For now I'll be fine. The money I got definitely will pay for the repairs and more, and then basically got free drone fuel and parts. So I came out definitely ahead there, but it could be a little better. So I can't jump, and the reason I can't jump is because I don't have any power to the engines. Well, I mean, that's easy to manage. I'll just put power in the engines, because there's no combat. If there were combat, it could be an issue. So there's still no distress beacons or stores. There's no interesting areas, so I want to start branching out a little bit. So I'm going to go up this way, and hopefully there'll be a store or something up here. I want to show some of the other elements of the game before. I'll probably only do one sector because I'm doing this slowly. But I want to get through sort of every element of the game, or at least every basic element of the game. Right here you can see just at the cusp there's this warning bubble. And the idea behind this is the fleet coming in. They're basically on my heels, and so I can waste a little time picking up some stuff here, but in general I need to avoid them. If they catch up to me, every area I go into, I'll have to fight one of their cruisers, or just one of their ships. They're very powerful. At this point, they would wreck me. Later in the game, if you get a lot of good stuff, you actually could fight them. The problem, though, since you're in their sector of space at the time, since they caught up to you, you can't really salvage anyone you destroy because you have to get away before someone else attacks you. And so, I think you always get 1 fuel to sort of make up for the fact that you wasted the fuel getting to where you're going. But you don't really get anything else, so there's no reason to want to do that. So you always really want to avoid it unless you really, 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 really need what's there, like a shop, and you really need the repairs or something like that. But you typically want to avoid it. Right now I absolutely want to avoid it. They would destroy me. I would take a lot of damage before I could even run away. It would just be a waste. So I've still got some time, though. So this bubble here is where they're going to get to, and this white line is where they currently are, and so they'll only jump, that much every time. I'm in a nebula, so they're jumping a little less, so the next time they probably jump more like this much. But still, they've probably got 6 or 7 jumps before they reach the area I'm in. Definitely before they reach the exit, so I can jump 5 or 6 times before I even have to worry about them. So I'm going to go to another unvisited location. Hopefully find distressed beacons, shops, other choices, interesting things. Alright, so this is a fairly common event you'll find. So the idea is you see two ships and you have to basically... Sometimes you have to pick sides if it's not obvious. Right now you just see basically it's pirates. You never aid the pirates because you're never an awful person. You know, you're not a bad person in this. You're the hero of the Federation, basically. So you'll never help the pirates. You may pay their tolls and you may ignore them, but you'll never help them. So instead of picking sides, basically I can either choose to do the safe option, or I can aid the civilian ship. In the first sector, with my experience in the game, I can take these guys down and probably take no damage or a little bit of damage. I will definitely get enough out of this to be worthwhile unless something really bad happens. So I'm going to do it. The interesting thing about these, though, is usually when there's someone pursuing another, or there's some sort of conflict, when you destroy the one, the other guys may reward you for doing it. So you may actually get a double reward. And so these are actually very, very beneficial as long as you feel strong enough in the sector that you're in to fight the enemies. As the sectors go on, all enemies get stronger, including pirates and natives. So anyway, I'm going to fight them. So as we can see, this is more or less the same as the one we saw before. 2 weapons, same sort of subsystems. They probably have the same 2 crew members, usually at this point. They'll have 1 level of shields and 10 hit points. The difference is they have a missile. This missile will punch through my shields. It won't damage the shield when it goes through, but it's going to completely ignore it. Ooh, why is this? This isn't good. Anyway, that's not going to be too bad. So anyway, there's 2 ways to counter missiles, basically. And either you need a drone that'll shoot it down. I don't have any drones, or I don't have a system that'll launch drones, so I can't do that. Or you dodge it. And your dodge is basically proportional to the amount of power you put into your engines, plus a little bit from the guy driving it. So the evade chance is right here. So basically, when he fires this on me, I'll have a 1 in 5 chance of not getting hit by it. Not great. Luckily, the AI in this game is dumb. They'll basically hit a random system. I think it's literally completely random. And since there are more empty systems, I'll just take a little bit of damage. It probably won't do too bad for me. It's probably a bad missile. It'll probably only do 1 point of damage. I'm not great at it. Actually, it might be the same as Artemis have, so it might do 2 points of damage. As long as it don't hit my weapons, I'll still be able to take out their weapons, and then won't hit me again. So I should be fine. I may take a little bit of damage, but I'm not too worried. So I'm going to do the same sort of tactic I usually do. I'm going to take out their shields to maximize the damage on my burst laser. So they missed me, obviously, and so did my missile miss too. It happens. So even though I didn't punch through their shields, I'm still going to attack their weapons because I really don't like this 1 in 5 chance of taking damage. I will do less damage, but it was enough to take out this. That does nothing for me, sadly. But they keep missing me, so I'm okay. I'm not in a terrible position. I'm not going to fire more missiles. There we go, 2 points of damage. So now they can't fire on me. So I basically have all the time in the world to just fire on them. Alright, so now their shields are down, so it'll be easier to attack them. Now this missile may fire at me again. I should have just kept firing at the missile. Yeah. Alright, they hit me in the shields. Luckily, their weapons are all down, so I actually don't even care about repairing this until after the combat's over. So I'm going to just keep firing at their weapons, because I do not want them to hurt me. So I don't even care if their shields go up, I just want to kill them. So the pirates are dead. I took a little bit of damage, so, I mean, it's a cost, but repairs are something like, I think it's 2 scrap per hit point, so I took like 2 points of damage, so it cost me about 4 scrap. I got 24 from that, and I got more fuel than I spent getting here, so this was a definite plus in every way. So now I contact the civilian ship afterwards. They will probably reward me. Sometimes they run away in fear, though. Yeah, see? Badly damaged in battle, most of the crew accepts the offer to be dropped off from the near station. One of them wants to join me, though. I want more crew members. You know, more crew members means I get more people to do repairs, and I still don't have someone manning the shields, so my shield recharge rate isn't increased by having someone there. So I want a 4. You want 4. It is the most important number. You can have up to 8 I take that back, you can have up to 6. But a 4th is great to have. So I want to put you in the shields. I'll save the current crew position. That way, if I move them around, I can use this, return them to their saved positions. This way I don't have to really micromanage who's going where. So yeah, now that he's in the shields will recharge slightly faster, and they'll have someone else. This is a sort of secondary, it's not actually a secondary system, but it's less important if someone in there. So if a fire starts somewhere, or I need repairs somewhere, I can move him over there and not really hinder my combat effectiveness. So that was great, and now I have 70 scrap. So, well, first off, let's actually check. There are no shops nearby. So I would like to purchase... Sure, let's purchase 2 levels in shield, so this will give me a second shield bar. Like, it's weird. As you can see here, you get 1 barrier per 2 power. If you get an odd number of power, it just makes you a little more resistant to damage, but otherwise you can't do anything with that other half, so to speak. So I want that, and then I will increase 1 power bar for my reactor, so that I don't have to take, even though I need 2 more for my shields, I only have to take 1 out of my other systems. This is not a huge deal, because I don't need this during combat mostly, and if I really need to dodge missiles, I can take it out of oxygen, and as you can see, the oxygen goes down very slowly, and so I can sort of on the fly move it if I need to dodge something for a very short amount of time. So this is actually a very great sort of position to be in that sense. So this, with 2 bars of shields, basically makes me very resistant to laser damage. There are many ships in this early stage of the game that literally can't hurt me in this way because they only have 1 laser. So as you can see here, this is the sector that's getting sort of absorbed by the rebel fleet. These glowing red sort of halos, I guess you would call them, they indicate areas you do not want to be in at the start of the next turn, because they will be enveloped and you will have to fight someone because you're going to be in the rebel zone. That doesn't... So I'm going to go here, so we'll find this out. If this isn't anything special, I'm going to go down this route probably to sort of cover the most amount of areas possible before leaving. Oh, this is another danger. So there's a lot of varied hazards, and this hazard happens to be a very annoying one, but it usually isn't a huge deal combat-wise. You just might take a little extra damage. And the idea is there's solar flares. So basically every 30 seconds or so, I don't know the exact time, there will be a solar flare, and there will be fires set on your ship. If you're lucky and they're in unmanned, unsystemed areas, you can just sort of eject the oxygen there and not have to worry about it. If it happens to happen in like your weapons or your shields or something, you'll take a point of damage, and then there'll be a fire there, and you have to put it out. It'll happen to the enemies as well as us, so, I mean, almost every hazard works that way. And so it's not, I mean, but the idea is the fire is usually okay to take out, and only 1 point of damage means if it hits my shields, I'll still have a point of shields. If it hits my weapons, I'll still be able to fire with one or the other. It's not awful, and then I can just send everyone in there to do the repair, to extinguish the fire and do the repairs. So it'll be a minor hindrance at best. So I've been ambushed by pirates basically next to the sun. So they have this is a beam weapon. You can tell because it's sort of got this pronged look and a red sort of charge thing. So what this will do is this will rake across my ship and do points of damage for every room it hits. Luckily, though, it doesn't pierce through shields. Only the very highest level ones do, and only through so many levels of shields. This one is the weakest. It will not pierce through any. So my 1 level of shield will block it. I have 2. This is an ion weapon. You can tell because of this sort of 3-pronged look, and it's blue. This is a little blue charge thing. What this will do is this will hit, when this hits a system, it won't actually do damage to your ship, but it'll make the room inactive for a certain number of power levels, depending on the damage of the ion, for a certain amount of time. So since it doesn't actually do damage and it doesn't do permanent damage to the system, it's not as good as real weaponry. Usually the benefit, though, is it usually charges faster and takes less energy for whoever has it, to run it. And so usually it's nice to have in conjunction. If it hits a shield, it will actually take out the entire bar of shield, not just one level of shield, so to speak. So if they hit me twice with it, it would take out both of my shields as opposed to just one of them. It's a good way to get through. If I had one level of shield, the ion could hit me and then the beam could rake me. This isn't actually not going to work for them, though, because I have 2 levels of shields. The ion will hit the one level and the beam will just sort of rake through, and I won't have to care. So this ship basically can't hurt me as long as the solar flares don't mess me up. So I'm just going to wait. Probably the best thing to do here is hit their weaponry, just in case I get hit by a solar flare in the shields. I don't want this to start messing me up. This is the safest option. It may take a little more time because I'm doing one of my shots is being blocked by the shield every single time I fire, and so I'm doing less damage as a whole. So it takes a little more time, but it's safer. Alright, so their oxygen went out. So oxygen, like I said, depletes very slowly, but it is something they have to take care of if it's a prolonged combat. So they're not going to be repairing this because they typically put a lot of, care into their oxygen. They don't like to leave it off for very long, and so they are no risk to me now, which is why I took out their shields, so this fight will be faster. They're offering me 12 scrap and 4 fuel. Fuel, I think, is about 3-to-1 scrap ratio, so this is about 12 scrap and 12 more, so they're offering me about 24 scrap. When you kill someone, that's probably about as much as I could expect. I'd actually rather just sort of get out of here so that the solar flare doesn't damage me more. So I'm actually going to take their surrender offer, simply because we're in a solar flare area. I just don't want to take more damage from solar flares. And it's decent. They gave me a lot of fuel, and fuel is something I can use very well. So there's nothing special here. This is very unfortunate. I would like to show at least what... The distress beacons don't look that much different, but they typically have a better... Alright, so a ship is being attacked by pirates. Basically, the pirates hail us and say, hey, we're going to give you a bunch of stuff if you just leave us alone. Or we could fight them and protect the innocent, basically. This is about the amount of payout I would get for destroying their ship. They might hurt me, so I don't know if that I may lose some. But if the ship doesn't run away, they might pay me back, so I might actually get more. And I don't really need missiles, and I definitely don't need drones, so I have a better chance of getting fuel or more straight-up scrap from fighting. And if you can look, you can't really see most of their systems, but you can see their weaponry. They have no weaponry other than a missile. Missile may hurt me, but I have a decent chance of dodging. It may only hurt me 1 or 2. That's not a lot of scrap. So I have a very good chance. Oh. I clicked the wrong one. It's not awful, though. I had a much better chance of getting a better payout otherwise, but, I mean, I got some missiles and some scrap. I'm actually going to upgrade, no, I'm hoping to get a shop, so I don't want to upgrade anything right now. Here, store. This is great. So we've gone to the store. There can be random encounters in the store. Sometimes they don't want you here because they side with the rebels, or they don't want you here because they don't like your kind, because they're mantis or rock or something like that. There's a little bit of sort of interstellar racism sometimes. But anyway, this looks like... Yeah, it looks like a shop. Alright, so this shop, you can buy fuel, missiles, drones, repair your ship. I'll repair my ship. Buy systems, buy drones. The second page has weapons. So these are more or less randomized. Not every shop will have, like, the specific layout of the specific drones that they have, the specific weapons they have, the specific systems are going to be different. They also may not have them. The other option is they sometimes sell crew members, and they'll typically have 2 or 3, depending on the shop, of these, sort of sections. They'll never have all of them, though. Not that I've ever seen. And so I can't hire crew members at this shop because they just don't happen to be here. But another shop may not sell systems, it may sell people. So that's the thing. I don't have a drone thing. I could buy a drone control. I don't have the money for it, though, and I would have to sell my drones to get near the money, which would then be counterproductive to getting a drone control system. So I'm not going to do that. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to sell my drones. So now I have 50 to choose from. So I could buy some bombs. I could buy a breach missile by selling off my Artemis missile. It is a better missile. It does 4 damage. As you can see, I can't move over my mouse, but in the 4th column there, it says normal damage 4. It also has a high breach chance, which breach basically means when you hit the ship, it'll rip a hole in it, and the oxygen will get ripped from that room, making it dangerous for people to be there. And so it's very useful to do in systems that are very important to your enemy, like shields, because the crew members have to fix the breach before they can fix the shields. And so this would do 4 damage to the shields, have a high chance of busting through and creating a hole, and then anyone that goes in there is going to take damage from the lack of oxygen and have to repair the breach before repairing the shields, making it a very good tactic. The problem is it takes 3 power. And the problem with 3 power is I only have 3 to my weapons. If I wanted to use my laser, I would have to put 2 more max power into my weaponry, which would cost 35 and 50. So it would cost 85 to do in total. Plus, I would then have to start taking more power out of my other things to put them in there, which is not good, because then I had to have no dodge chance, because I'd have to take out my extra shields, so then I'd have to pay more money for more reactor power. Not a great choice for me. Bombs also use missile, but they work differently. Bombs don't do damage to the actual ship, they just do damage to systems, other than the repair bomb, which actually repairs damage. The small bomb actually... So, the idea with bombs is they typically do more damage for the amount of power that they do. Like, they're basically like missiles that do a little more, but don't actually damage the ship. It's decent, but it's not enough better than my Artemis. Artemis is actually fairly good. It's not enough better, so to speak, to be worth the loss of money. I'd have to pay 45, get back 19, and it wouldn't really better. It would just be slightly different, but not really much better, so it's not worth my money. So buying weapons isn't useful here. I have plenty of fuel because of all the fuel I've been getting. Missiles are fine. I can't sell back drone parts, sadly. So, I actually have nothing I really want to buy here, but I've shown it off. So that's the thing. So let's just go... Oh, here's a distress signal. So let's try to do this really quickly. This video has run a little bit long, but, I mean, that's fine. So I've encountered a refugee ship. So the idea behind distress signals is they're usually more dangerous. There's a much higher chance of some sort of damage, risk, or usually combat. But they usually have a much higher reward. Very frequently, although not necessarily greater than 50% chance, but at least frequently, paying out with weaponry, ship parts, sometimes even subsystems depending on the distress signal. They can be very, very, very useful. And they're actually more common than it looks like. Usually you get 2 or 3 in every sector, sometimes more. This one seems to be a little barren. So anyway, I've encountered a refugee ship drifting in space. It looks like it was fleeing the rebels, and we're out of fuel. We're not sure if anyone's there. And communications are down. So basically I can board without knowing anything about the ship. The risk is I might get ambushed, or it might blow up on me or something. Or I could just do nothing. Well, I usually like to do things, because ignoring it means I'm basically allowing the game to outscale me slightly. So, I'm gonna go investigate. So basically I approach the ship, and they're cannibalistic refugees. So basically they've been here for, I don't know, I would assume weeks. They've run out of food, and they now want to eat us. So now they're on board. This is like the last time I was intruded, just a slightly different sort of fluff backstory for this. I don't like the fact that they're in my doors, but this is what I will do. I'm going to fight them, but I'm also going to jettison the oxygen. So the what? How did you get through that? Okay, that's not supposed to have happened. So I'm going to jettison the oxygen. So hopefully what this means is I should be able to... Yeah, so now that they have no oxygen, they're not going to want to fight in here. So then we're like, oh shit, we don't want to do this. So they leave. And now they fight me here in my med bay, and I am on the better, you know, I am the home ground advantage, so to speak, in the med bay. So this is how I like to do things. So let's close all doors, open all inner doors. This basically what this means is just now all the oxygen will disperse into the rooms. This makes the rooms habitable faster. So now that they're habitable, all I have to do is wait for everyone to heal. You can leave, you can go in here. And once everyone is healed, I'll just send everyone back to their positions. So, the next area will be the last area. I'll show what the jump is like, and then I'll probably call it quits. The one more thing I should at least point out is another thing that you can do, is you can put people in subsystems, specifically in doors, sensors, and that's it. Well, I mean, there's piloting. Piloting's another subsystem, but you have to have someone there. So if you put someone in the doors or the sensors, it actually upgrades them to their next level. And so if I put someone in the doors, these are level 3 doors. These are blast doors. Blast doors are even more powerful to break down. So that's good. Sensors, basically, when you upgrade your sensors, you can see into the enemy ship. A level 2 sensors allows you to see where their crew members are. That way you can, if you have like a beam weapon or something, I don't know, if you want to damage the crew members instead of the people, or sorry, instead of the ship, you can then aim where the people are. It's decently useful if you actually kill all the people on the ship without killing the ship. It doesn't blow up, and so you can actually scrap a lot more from it. The problem is it's much more difficult. And you usually need to have correct weaponry, like beam weapons, fire, cutting out their oxygen. It's trickier. I don't have the kind of ship that can deal with it right now. So that's other things you can do theoretically in this. There are other... I should have gone over them when they were there, but there are other systems you can put into your ship. There's a hacking system, there's a mind control system. There's a drone system, there's a teleporter system. They all let you fight in different ways. Mind control lets you take over one of the enemies on their ship, and so you can have them start fighting on that ship, which can cause them to not have someone manning their shields, not repairing their shields even. Very useful in a clutch situation. Teleporters, you can take your people and teleport them into the enemy ship, which, well, allows you to fight on their ship, which allows you to kill the people on their ship so they can't repair. So you can even kill everyone and then just take the ship without having to blow up. That's another way to fight. Drones do various things. You can either have drones invade and fight on their enemy ship. You can have them defend you against missiles. You can have them fire on the enemy ship with lasers. It's just a variety of things that they do. So anyway, I have sort of a vanilla ship in the sense that it doesn't do anything. Oh, I should have gone to the exit. Alright, this is going to go even longer. Alright, so here's combat in a plasma storm. So we're both going to have very little power. This will be very useful for me because they're not going to be able to deploy their weapons, drones, shields at the same time, which might be kind of annoying. So they have decided to put on their weapons and drone, but not their shields. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take power out of my oxygen and Artemis, put it into my burst laser, because I don't really want to use a missile. So, oxygen, I've got enough time to at least fire once. So what I'm going to do is fire this onto their weaponry so they can't hurt me. So, they got through because they're firing me with a drone and a weapon. Now that their weapon's down, this drone is not going to be able to fire fast enough to get through my shield recharge, so they can't hurt me now. So now I can actually turn off my engines because I don't care about dodging. So now that my guys don't run out of oxygen. Oh, he hurt me. Well, let's take out their drones. Alright, now they're trying to escape. I'm gonna accept the surrender just because I was actually trying to get to the end. So here, let's go to the exit. I know I'm rushing it a little bit. I don't want to have a 2-hour-long intro video. We've arrived at the long-range beacon. When the FTL drive is charged, you jump to the next sector. We've picked up a refugee ship drifting through the system. It's trying to avoid notice, or it's possibly raiders or something like that. You know, they don't want people to notice them. They might be trying to avoid people, or they might be raiders or something. I usually like to hail them. Something like, if they're raiders, I'll probably kill them and get something. If they're civilians, they'll probably ask me to escort them somewhere or something or other like that, or they'll probably also give me something. So, it's usually better. So yeah, they're relieved to hear from me. They're running on supplies. They want to give me drone parts, which is what green means, in exchange for 2 of my missiles. Well, if this game had any reason to be altruistic, I mean, I would do it because it'd be nice. I have no use for drone parts, though, so I actually don't want to do this trade. So my encounter here is done. So now I can just jump to the next sector, right here, big next sector, whenever I want. If I were doing this myself, I probably would have jumped to another area, maybe even 2. But I'm trying to get this done, so let's jump to the next sector. So here, basically, we're here where this little rotating ship is. And we can go to one of the 2 next ones. Sometimes it's the only one to choose from because it goes in and out and in and out. But the idea is we get our choice. Uncharted Nebula or Uncharted Nebula. Well, that's not a very big difference. But what you can see here is if I go this way, well, it's not a huge deal because both of these have another nebula and another civilian sector, and then they have a hostile sector. The only real difference between these parts is this one allows me to go to this civilian sector, while this path would force me to go into one of these 2, and I can never get there. That's about the only difference between these paths that I can see. So either one's fun. I'm just going to go to the top one. So nebula sectors are weird. There's going to be a lot of these sort of nebulas to go through. The problem is they do not benefit you in the same way that they do in normal areas because, I don't know why, but because the enemy fleet expects me to be here. So if you can see here, it says right here, the Royal Fleet was prepared for this nebula, so it won't be as effective as a hiding spot. I don't know if it means it doesn't have any additional effect, or just lesser of an additional effect. But basically, I didn't really have much choice, so I went here. But there's not a lot of benefit from this. Depending on the nebula you go to, you can have different kinds of aliens. Slugs like to be in nebulas. That can be beneficial if for some reason you want to encounter a bunch of slugs because you're good against that kind of ship, or because you want one of their crew members, or because there are specific quests in this that you can find that'll unlock certain ships, weapons, such and such. If you want that, maybe you want to go to a nebula. Otherwise, this is just going to be a hassle because our sensors are going to be down and our power is going to be halved. So it just kind of sucks, but there was not a lot of choice. I'm not going to go through with this. This has already been long enough. If anyone wants to see this game as a series, I love this game. The only reason I don't play it more is because I have other games I also love. If people want to see this, though, I would be perfectly happy to do a series on this, and we can go through with the entire thing. Runs will take... If I wasn't explaining through all this, I was skipping through the dialogue and maybe making some quick choices. A run in this can take... as long as you don't die quickly, can take anywhere between like an hour and 3 hours, depending on how quickly you go through things, decisions you make, how many sectors you go to. They're generally short enough for 1 or 2 videos, though. So anyway, that's that. This video may get split into 2 parts. I'll have to decide. I guess probably. Anyway, the idea is if anyone wants to see this, I'd be happy to do a video series on this. Otherwise, just stay tuned, I suppose, for the next roguelike I'm going to go over. And maybe you'll want to see that one instead. So anyway, it was fun. Bye-bye.